All right. So I am super, super, super excited for this training that I'm going to be delivering to you guys today. This is probably going to be a multi-week series. Irene, I wanted you on this call because I think this is something that would be relevant for everybody. And it's a personal goal and ambition of mine that I want every single one of you guys to be wealthy. And I want you guys to at least reach millionaire status. And if you want to go beyond that, I'm right there with you. And I would love to go on that journey with you. But Irene, I want you to be wealthy. I want you to be a millionaire. Abigail, I would like you to be a millionaire as well. Grant, I would also like you to be a millionaire. And honestly, millionaire is like the starting point. What we'll find as we go through this, $1 million net worth, as cool as that may or may not sound to you, that is literally the starting point. That is not going to set you up for life. You are not hot shit when you hit $1 million. That's like bare bones minimum standard that we all need to get to. Otherwise, we're going to be in a world of hurt when it comes time for us to retire. Okay? So bare bones, I want you guys all to get to $1 million. Before we jump into this, let's talk about what wealth is. Can everybody give me just their little snippet of what, if you had to define wealth, what it would be? Irene, I'll start with you.
Financial stability.
Okay. Abigail?
I was going to say the same thing. I was going to say the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, financial freedom, like in a definition of wealth, money. Yeah. Net worth.
So, and just to be clear, we're talking about money. Like, there's a lot of different ways you can get amorphous and fuzzy with wealth, but this series we're talking about money. So here's the deal. There's two different ways in my mind that you can define wealth. You can get into the net worth conversation. How much do you owe versus, or how much do you own versus how much you owe? And that is certainly one definition of wealth. The other definition of wealth that I've found to be like relevant or something to think about is how long can I live my current lifestyle or whatever lifestyle that I, aspire to without needing any active income. So God forbid if something happened to me physically, mentally, whatever, where I was not able to go out and produce income, how long could I survive and keep the lifestyle that I want to keep? And this is a very relevant conversation because here's the reality, guys. We are all very healthy, younger people. And we all have the ability of, I'm losing people. Are you guys still there?
Yeah.
I'm still here. You were lagging a little bit, so I might be cutting in and out.
Okay. So here's the deal, guys. We are all relatively young, healthy people that are able to go out there and actively earn income. There may be something that happens this afternoon, tomorrow, that impedes our ability to go out and do that, which is why this is such a tough conversation. If you don't believe that is true, talk to Irene. She will explain to you that something could happen to you where you are not able to go out there and actively earn income. So it is very, very important, and I want to kind of drill this in. We need to do anything and everything we can to set ourselves up, ourselves, our families, our future spouses, our future children, our children's children, that we are going to be financially stable and secure. If we got X'd out of the picture, if we got hit by a bus tomorrow and we got wiped off the face of this earth, where does that leave our loved ones? Okay. So why I want you to be wealthy. So this is something that I remember somebody went through, a guy named Joshua Smith, who's amazing. Look him up. He runs a really good podcast called GSD Mode that he went through. And he basically said, hey, I talk to a lot of people that say, hey, I don't need to worry about wealth. That's not my deal. I don't have these Jeff Bezos ambitions. I'm just perfectly fine being hunky-dory and being average, right? And that may or may not be a conversation that you guys are having with yourselves. So I want you to know what average looks like in this country so that if you say, hey, I'm fine being average, what average actually stacks up to be. So I went this morning and I just pulled some stats off the interweb. So here's the deal. The median household bank balance in the United States is $5,300, which is absolute dog shit. Because if you have one medical emergency, if you have one car that goes out, if you have one anything, then you're in a world of hurt. You're either at zero or you're below zero. On average, Americans have $17,000 in an investment or a savings account. Once again, that is absolute dog shit because that doesn't allow you to do anything, okay? We'll get into this a little bit later, but basically for you to be able to comfortably live off of our portfolio, you have to basically be able to live off of 4% of the principal of your portfolio. So at $17,135, that essentially means that that portfolio can yield you $685 per year. Let me know how that goes. 18% of people making over $100,000 annually live paycheck to paycheck. That means that a lot of folks that you see that look good, smell good, ought to be in Hollywood, they are simply living broke at a higher level, meaning they are still living paycheck to paycheck. They may have nicer clothes, they might live in nicer houses, they might have nicer cars, but they are still living paycheck to paycheck. 64% of American adults could not cover an unexpected $400 expense using cash. So that literally means in one of the most powerful countries in the world, in one of the wealthiest countries in the world, in one of the most opportunistic countries in the world, if not the most, that the average American adult could not cover a $400 expense without going into debt. On average, Americans have 4 credit cards. And I would venture to guess that's not because they're just playing the points game. That's probably because they don't have the cash to be able to cover their expenses. Generation X, 43 to 58, meaning they have walked this earth for 43 years. They have the highest credit card debt out of all the generations, which is absolutely crazy pants that somebody at that stage in their life has the most debt out of any generation. 26% of non-retired adults have no retirement savings. That's absolutely crazy. That means a quarter of the people that you see that are adults walking walking around Shore Pump, you go down to wherever around town, 1 in 4 people literally have 0 retirement savings. The average 401k account was $106,000 in 2020. Once again, absolute horseshit, knowing that if you try to live off 4% of that portfolio, that's $4,240 is what those folks could reasonably pull out of their 401k before they start eating away at the principal. Less than 17% of U.S. high schools have a personal finance requirement. 77% of Americans report feeling anxious about their financial situation. 58% feel that finances control their lives. 52% say they have difficulty controlling money-related worries. 46% of U.S. credit card holders carry a balance every month, meaning that they are paying 18 to 26 to whatever close to usury rate that a credit card company can get away with. They're paying that on a monthly basis. 2/3 of Americans don't expect their financial situation to improve. 60% of adults say thinking about their personal finances make them feel anxious. And the average debt per U.S. individual in 2001 was $5,221 per credit card in credit card debt, $17,000 in a personal loan, $20,000 in an auto loan, $39,485 in student loans, and $40,000 in HELOC or line of credit loans on their house. Once again, I would venture to guess that's not because they're using that money to start a business, to invest in real estate. They're probably using it to just fund their lifestyle. I go through all this not to just drag everybody down and make everybody depressed, but to define the fact that we absolutely have a problem in this country. And I don't need to hear everybody's story, but I would venture to guess some of this probably touches on us on this call. right? I know at one point in my life, a lot of this was applicable to myself. The reason I take the time to go through all this is I do not want that reality for anybody on this call. I don't want it for anybody, but I most certainly don't want this reality for anybody that works on this team, anybody that I have the pleasure of being in contact with. And Abigail, Grant, we have been blessed with a gift, and Irene too, that we are in an industry that is a very lucrative industry. There is a lot of money to be made in the real estate industry. There's a lot of money to be made in real estate sales. This is not a reality that I want for either of you, Irene, you either. There's too much opportunity for us to find ourselves in this situation. So that's why I'm hammering this. And this is why I get so passionate about this, because there's a lot of pain that's out there that we don't have to partake in. So I would submit to you, wealth is not about material things, okay? The reason we're going to be talking about money, the reason that I like to take money so seriously, that I'm going to try to get you guys to take it so seriously, it's not about the shit you can buy. It's not about the most recent iPhone. It's not about the suit. It's not about the car. It's not about the house. It's not about the trinkets. It's not about the vacations. It's not about any of that shit. All of that is super cool. I'm not against that. I think you should enjoy it. I think you should enjoy it responsibly, but it's not about that. Money, wealth is simply a resource. Just like oxygen is a resource, right? We don't necessarily think about oxygen because it's abundant. We don't have to think about water because every time we turn on the spigot, it's there. But I promise you, as soon as you run out of water, all you're going to be able to think about is water. Same thing with oxygen. So wealth is literally a resource. Wealth is about giving you options. Wealth is also about protection against the unknown. So what happens if I have an unforeseen medical expense? What happens to me if I can't work? What happens to me if my ability to go out and proactively, actively create income goes away? Where does that leave me? What happens if I die? So if I get wiped out of this situation, Grant, Abigail, I know you guys aren't married yet. You don't have spouses. You don't have kids. Irene, I'm sure you can relate to this one. What happens if I go away? What situation is my family in? What happens if I have a special needs child? Right? What happens? Damn it. What happens if my family needs something? What happens if my parents need something? What happens if my kids need something? What happens if my extended family needs something? Sorry about that, guys. Do I want to be the one that has the resources to be able to take care of everybody? Or do I want to be somebody that's not able to help? So, heavy shit, right? So, we're going to get into how do we fix the problem. I wanted to start by defining the problem, defining the severity of, hey, this is something that we need to take seriously, just like our personal health, just like our family relationships, just like our spiritual relationships. This is something that is worth putting attention to. Because if we can figure out the money piece, if it's one less thing that we've got to worry about, we can focus on the really important stuff in life: relationships, fun, family, health, all of that stuff. But guys, we live in a financial world. So if we can't figure out the money thing, all of that other stuff is going to get affected. Okay. So we've defined the problem. In the coming weeks, we're going to get into how do we solve the problem? How do we play defense? How do we play offense? What do we do with our money? How do we systematically grow our net worth? And we got to take care of all the back end shit. But I get super excited talking about the wealth building piece, because that's where it really gets fun. Of, hey, I've gotten my house in order, and now all I'm doing is I'm just stacking wealth, and it's just getting better and better and better, right? And I'm getting this I'm getting that much farther away from having a potential problem. So here's what I did for you guys. Now that I've made this a completely somber conversation. All right, so two things that you guys all have access to in your Google Drive. Okay. This is something I don't need to see it. So right now I've got access to it. If you guys want to move it offline, if you want to download it to your computer, if you want to download it to your home computer, like wherever you want to put it, that's fine with me. I'm just going to encourage you to do the exercise. So the exercise, first and foremost, is figuring out your net worth. This may be a negative number right now, okay? But before we can make progress, we've really got to diagnose where we are at currently. So I would encourage you guys to begin tracking your net worth on a monthly basis, okay? Once again, this is not about getting rich so that we can be a 1%er. This is about taking care of the things that we need to take care of in this life. So what you can do in here is you can figure out if you've got retirement accounts, if you got taxable retirement accounts, you can put them in here. If you've got IRAs, 401ks, 529s, HSAs, you can put it in there. I hope to God you guys aren't heavily invested in crypto. You can put your cash accounts, checking and savings. We can put our primary residence in here if we are homeowners. If you're not homeowners, I encourage you to become homeowners eventually. If we own rental properties, I would leave the cars off. I don't really see cars as an asset. And then from there, we're going to put in what are our debts. So very simply, net worth, what do I own? What are my assets? Minus what do I owe, right? And right now, this number may be a negative number. That's okay. We're going to move you in the right direction. But first and foremost, we need to diagnose the problem. Now, I would also encourage you guys to just set a reminder on your Google Tasks, your physical, like wherever you got to set it, just set a damn reminder. Do this once a month. The reason this is powerful doing this once a month is what gets measured improves. So just like if you jumped on a scale every single morning and weighed yourself, you would naturally, even if you didn't necessarily change your diet or your workout routine, you'd probably start losing weight just for the simple fact that if you're confronted with the reality of the situation on a regular basis, you're going to consciously, subconsciously start doing things different to produce a better result, right? It's kind of like we got to have a scoreboard. If we were playing a game of basketball and there was no scoreboard, we weren't keeping track, there was no time clock, like it wouldn't be that fun and it probably wouldn't be that competitive. But when we start tracking this on a regular basis, we're going to start noticing patterns, we're going to start noticing trends, and we're going to start doing things that we need to do to improve the situation. So this is step number one. I've seen huge value in this myself. I've been tracking my net worth for probably the better part of 2 years. And the number has continued to increase. It also gives you the focus, the awareness of, hey, if I make certain financial decisions, that's going to cause the number to go backwards. And if I look at it every month, I don't want the number to go backwards. Is this making sense, guys?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So the other homework assignment that I'm going to give you is I also gave you a monthly budget spreadsheet, right? So for us to be able to increase that net worth number, I'll give you kind of a preview of next week. We've got to play defense and we have to play offense, right? So Irene, you're going to be able to fill this thing out because your income is pretty steady Eddie in the sense that you get a regular paycheck once every month. Grant, Abigail, Mustafa, I wouldn't worry as much. Grant, I guess you can put Mustafa, you can put your paycheck in here that you get from your job currently. Abigail, Grant, I'm not as concerned about the income side. I'm more concerned about you guys getting a good handle on what your monthly expenses are, AKA what is your burn rate? How much cash do you burn through every single month? And do we have an awareness of that? Have we made a conscious decision as far as what that number is going to be? So you can put all of your shit in here. You can put your MLS dues. You can put your RER expenses. You can put all that in. And naturally, when you're looking at it, you're probably going to be able to find some stuff that we can shave off, right? There's only so much we can shave off, though. So we're going to play some defense in the sense that we're going to control our expenses. Maybe we shave a little bit, but there's only so much fat that we're going to be able to cut before we start getting into muscle and before we start scratching in the bone marrow, right? The real game becomes I can control my expenses and then I'm going to grow my income. And that delta that we're able to create between my expenses and my income is money that we're going to be able to save. And then we're going to be able to invest that to grow our net worth, to grow our wealth. Okay. So we want to take an honest assessment once again at our net worth of where am I at currently. And then I want to fill that in on a regular basis so that I'm able to kind of track how that number is moving. And then secondly, I want to fill in my monthly budget just so I have a very concrete understanding of what my expenses are. And you may even need to do this on a monthly basis just to kind of keep track of it. So once again, I know what the number is and I'm dealing in the reality as, hey, these are my expenses. Here's my income. What's the delta that I currently have? And then what can I do to grow my income to create more of a delta? Not so I can go buy clothes, not so I can go, get a car note, not so I can go put myself into more debt obligations, but how can I take that money and then go invest it? Questions, concerns, thoughts, fears? Was this at all helpful?
Yes.
You can be honest.
I like different
You,
spreadsheets and the trackers to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want us to, work on putting stuff in by a certain amount of time, or I guess this is more for us, but having an eye from you. I guess what's your plan with us if you're looking to have us input some stuff?
Yeah, so I would, just to give yourself a deadline, I would do it by the call next week, because if you're able to get this all done next week, then what that's going to allow you to do is to absorb this information and kind of like get past step one, so that then we can move on to step number 2 next week. If you guys would like to review this, if you'd like me to review this with you, I'm certainly not a financial planner, advisor, whatever, but I'm happy to do that and assist in any way that I can. I understand this is somewhat, private in nature. So if that's not something you're comfortable with, I'm not going to try to ram it down your throat that I've got to be able to see your finances. But if that's something that you guys want me to review with you, whatnot, if you need that accountability, I'm happy to do that, where we can sit down and we can review it. The other thing I would say too, that I found, everybody says you shouldn't talk about money or politics. I found that the more open conversations I have about money, the more my financial situation has improved, because I'm able to kind of lay my cards on the table and be honest with people. Granted, there's only a handful of people that I do that with, but I found this to be a very powerful conversation. So if I can do that for you, you let me know. If it's something you want to keep to yourself, that's fine by me, but I would get it done by next week. Cool. Anything else anybody needs at this moment in time?
Nope.
Cool. All right, guys. Go get them.
Yeah.